You'll recall that when we learned about Monroe's motivated sequence, one of the steps in that type of speech was to ask the audience to visually imagine what a world would be like if the problem either continued to exist and got worse, or if the world was free from the problem. And when we were listening to these speeches, we as audience members were creating an image in our mind's eye. And this just goes to show that we as human beings are a visual culture, and we as Americans especially. And images have what is known as a cultural salience. This basically means what is visual helps to frame or construct our culture. To put that a different way, salience basically just means importance. So what this idea is arguing is that images and the visual are really important in helping us to frame and construct our culture. It's important to help us think about how our culture is and how we behave within our culture. So the visual has cultural salience. And the visual can disrupt and challenge traditional thought because of this salience, and it can also alter people's perceptions and reactions to different cultural events and experiences. And this idea of cultural salience led to the concept of witnessing. Now, the idea of witnessing basically says that we have two faces, the seeing and the saying. When we are a seeing witness, we are being a passive witness. So by witnessing something that is taking place, we are passively observing the world around us. When we are instead being the saying witness, we are sharing our experiences with someone else. So we have become an active witness. And the author of this theory, Peters, argued that what one has seen authorizes what one says. So an active witness must first have been a passive one. So we have to have observed and seen something before we can say anything about it. And your book talks a lot, or the reading rather, talks a lot about the images that came out after 9/11 happened in 2001. And the images that were produced after this great tragedy provided the world with access to this experience, even though most of us were not physically present there. Some of us were probably alive at this time, many of you probably weren't, but you've likely seen the images that came out of this day. And seeing those images is just heart-wrenching. Looking at the smoke-filled New York City skyline and seeing the buildings that were once there that no longer are. And monuments are built in honor of our collective past as a way to commemorate the experience of those who were there, to experience the event firsthand. And so I don't know if any of you have been to New York recently, but there's a new memorial there. It's been there for a few years, where the Twin Towers once stood. And they are just these incredible fountains. It's two fountains in the footprint of the original buildings. And the water within this fountain, this is actually an image that I took when I traveled to New York last year. But this image does not do this memorial justice. The memorial was created so that you could feel the emptiness of the space. And by going to this memorial, I was being a seeing witness, right? I was being a passive witness. I was experiencing the area and the memorial, and I went to the museum as well, which was so fascinating and so heart-wrenching. But now that I have been a passive witness, now that I have experienced these visuals, I can be an active witness and share that experience with you all, with you guys. So we can come to know events that we never even participated in, that we were not privy to, simply by the visuals that exist of those events. So as you can see, we are a very visual culture, and the visual has a significant importance in our lives.